What happens after the last breath? Does the self dissolve into emptiness, or does it cross portals beyond human comprehension? Welcome, soul traveler, to the mystery of mysteries. Today we dive into one of the most profound and enigmatic texts of Tibetan Buddhism, the Bardo Thodol, more widely known in the West as the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Imagine a guide that accompanies you through the deepest and most mysterious moments of existence. This is the role of the Bardo Thodol. And no, this is not just a simple manual on the end of life. It is a map, a spiritual guide for what happens right after death. Get ready, for together we will cross this portal, unravel its messages, and perhaps come to understand a bit more about what it means to exist. The Bardo Thodol was created by Padmasambhava, a legendary and almost mythical figure in Tibetan Buddhism. Born in India, he is widely recognized as the one responsible for bringing Buddhism to Tibet in the 8th century. Tibetan tradition reveres him as the Guru Rinpoche, which means precious master. But Padmasambhava was not just a monk. He was a deeply profound spiritual master, a yogi who mastered mystical techniques and esoteric teachings. The Bardo Thodol was born out of this master's desire to guide not only the living, but also the dead, offering them a path to liberation even after the last breath. From a young age, Padmasambhava displayed extraordinary mystical abilities, being recognized as a Mahasiddha, a figure who has attained an extreme level of spiritual realization, developing spiritual powers or siddhis, considered miraculous. He was invited to Tibet by King Trisong Detsen, who sought to expand Buddhism and strengthen the country spiritually, unifying the people under a single belief system. At that time, Tibet was a place of intense shamanic practices and animist beliefs, strongly rooted in the Bon religion, the indigenous Tibetan spiritual practice. This diverse and even chaotic spiritual atmosphere presented challenges to the spread of Buddhism. Upon arriving in Tibet, Padmasambhava faced resistance from various cultural and spiritual forces. The local deities and spirits of Bon traditions resisted Buddhism, and Padmasambhava used his knowledge of magic and tantric ritualism to tame these spirits. This integration of Bon deities and practices into Tibetan Buddhism was crucial to establishing a lasting spiritual foundation. Thus, Padmasambhava founded Tibet's first Buddhist monastery, the Samye Monastery, and began to transmit profound teachings about the mind, reality, and the cycle of existence known as samsara. In Tibetan Buddhism, there is an understanding that death is not the end, but a transitional state, a moment of opening to the possibility of spiritual liberation. Padmasambhava understood that, at the moment of death, the mind enters a special state where, free from the distractions of the physical body, it becomes more receptive to the ultimate truth. He realized that this was a unique opportunity for liberation. But he also knew that most people, when they die, are lost in illusions and fears that keep them from this possibility. His mission was to create a guide that could be recited by those accompanying the dying, or even studied in life, so that the mind would be prepared for the bardos, the transitional states after death. In essence, he wanted to ease suffering and open doors to enlightenment, even when everything seems uncertain and dissolving. This compassion is the foundation of the Bardo Thodol. He also knew that many might not achieve enlightenment in life, but he saw in death a last opportunity. And so he offered instructions for practitioners and disciples to recognize the clear light, the pure manifestation of the mind, at the moment of their passing. The 3 stages of Bardo Thodol. The Chikai Bardo, the moment of death. In the Chikai Bardo, the soul experiences the moment of death itself, a point of transition where the physical body dissolves and consciousness is freed from its material limitations. Once the dissolution is complete, the soul finds itself before the primordial, clear light described in the Bardo Thodol as a dazzling, pure, and immense light. The clear light is the manifestation of the absolute nature of the mind, a state of pure, unconditional consciousness where there is no duality, fear, or attachment. Some know it as the higher self, others as the solar mind. There are many names for this state of totality and infinite peace. For the spiritual practitioner, The Chikai Bardo offers the possibility of final liberation. If the soul can recognize the clear light as part of its essence, it attains instant liberation, nirvana, and there is no need to pass through the other stages of the bardos. This recognition does not depend on rituals or doctrines. It is a direct and complete experience of the truth, where the mind sees itself without filters or distortions. In this moment, all conditioning, karma, and identities dissolve. However, for those who are unprepared, the intensity of the clear light can be terrifying. The mind may interpret it as a threat due to fear or attachment to what is familiar. In this case, the soul retreats, losing the chance for liberation, and enters the next stages of the bardos, where it faces increasingly distorted and limiting visions according to its karmic tendencies. The Chonyid Bardo, the bardo of visions. Carl Gustav Jung once said, "Gods and demons are projections of the unconscious, powerful and inescapable until understood as parts of ourselves." In the Chonyid Bardo, the soul finds itself in a state of consciousness stripped of its physical body and within a dimension where tangible boundaries no longer exist. Here, the soul experiences projections of its own mind, which can appear in both angelic forms and disturbing, frightening visions. These visions reflect the emotional and karmic states accumulated by the soul over lifetimes and manifest as either peaceful or wrathful deities. Peaceful deities represent enlightened aspects of consciousness, Buddhas, bodhisattvas, or radiant beings. However, for the unprepared, these visions may be overwhelming, causing the soul to retreat. Wrathful deities manifest as anger, fear, and repressed desires in terrifying forms. But they are not external enemies. They are parts of the self that remain untamed. This bardo is a psychic mirror where everything that was hidden emerges. Unlike ordinary dreams, these visions are vivid and striking, a result of the mind's amplified clarity after death. The Chonyid Bardo offers a second chance for liberation. If the soul can recognize these visions as illusions, manifestations of its own mind, then liberation is still possible. The key lies in focusing on the clear light, the pure radiance beyond all projections. Yet fear and attachment are the greatest obstacles. The soul may cling to the peaceful visions or flee from the wrathful ones, becoming trapped in samsara once again. By understanding the concept of shunyata, emptiness, one can transcend these visions. They are not real in themselves, only expressions of the self. Thus, this stage is not a punishment, but a revelation, a trial where the soul may awaken or fall again into the cycle of rebirth. The Sidpa Bardo, rebirth in the Sidpa Bardo, the final stage, the soul faces the choice of its next existence. This rebirth is shaped by karma, the energy of all actions, thoughts, and intentions. The soul, now moved by lingering fears and desires, is drawn to a new body. Visions of couples in union appear, symbolizing creation and birth. If the soul is not prepared, it is irresistibly pulled toward rebirth based on unconscious emotional patterns. But for the soul that maintains awareness and detachment, there is one final chance for transcendence. Spiritual practice in life, meditation, contemplation of death, understanding one's desires, prepares the mind for this moment. The Sidpa Bardo shows us that rebirth is not random. It reflects our inner state, a mirror of what we need to learn. For the wise, this is not a prison, but a classroom. For the awakened, it may be avoided altogether. Ultimately, enlightenment means there is no more rebirth, because the illusion of a fixed identity has been dissolved. The Bardo Thodol is not just a religious text or a compendium of esoteric beliefs. It is a tool for self-knowledge, a mirror for our mind, and a map for our destiny. It teaches us that death is not the end, but a portal to new beginnings. As Ram Dass once said, "When you die, there is only one question that matters. How much did you love?" In this sense, the Tibetan Book of the Dead invites us to reflect on our lives. Are we ready for the final journey? Are we prepared to let go of everything we believe we are? Perhaps by contemplating these teachings, we can not only prepare for death, but also learn to truly live. If this journey into the unknown resonated with you, Share this video and subscribe to the channel. Let us know in the comments what intrigues you most about life after death. For the path of self-knowledge is long, and together, we can explore the greatest mysteries of existence. Thank you for watching.